Alright, hey guys, what's up? Tom Fountainhead back with another guitar lesson. 30 days of guitar lessons here at Fountainhead TV. So I have one small lesson every day for you guys, and we are in tapping week, day number 2. So yesterday I showed you this little passage here, which is very simple but has some very fine details in the way that I'm operating the right hand, which enable me to connect left and right in terms of sound and fluidity. So if you haven't seen that, go back to yesterday's lesson. There's more to it than meets the eye. And the same thing goes for today's lesson, where I'm taking the same thing and we are, extending it. That's the word I was looking for. We are extending it onto the G string. So we have a little bit of string skipping and hammer-on from nowhere going on there. So here's the pattern. Same as yesterday, C and D in the left hand and A and B in the right hand. And now we are hammering on the middle finger onto the E note on the G string. And then 14th and 16th fret, so A and B in the right hand, and then the whole passage starts again. So a couple of things right off the bat with just this little movement here. So first of all, these hammer-ons from nowhere, I think this is something that you really should spend some time focusing on getting right, because it's really important that you have this like missile-like seeking mechanism going on, where you just, wherever you are, you will never not find the target, right? It's like computer-guided precision. And if you've done it for long enough, you can just use any finger or any combination on the fretboard to find the spots that you wanna hammer on to. So that's not like some supernatural ability. That's just working on it over and over and over until you've done every possible combination so often that you can just do it in your sleep. So there's nothing magical about that, or no secret trick. But there's one thing that may not be as obvious, and this is that the moment I hammer on with the middle finger here, I bring in my index finger to block the strings. So the index finger is not doing anything, it's just touching these 3 upper strings, so we don't have any unwanted noise coming off any of those strings. And you can even, if you don't want to start with hammer, you can even have it in this muting position all the time. Right? And so on the right hand, we have 2 times A and B in exactly the same way that we went over yesterday, with the ring finger pulling off towards the palm of the hand and the middle finger pulling off towards the ceiling. So it doesn't matter on which string you are. Same technique, right? Exact same technique. The only thing that changes is your ability to mute the strings with the right hand palm. Now, one more important thing is that you want to be able, and this is super, super subtle, but you want to be able to also mute the G string without that left hand index finger. So remember when I told you yesterday that at all times I try to have my right hand palm muting as many strings as possible. So in this case, when we are going over 3 strings and we are jumping over the B string, so to say, we can do one thing. We can have a combination of muting going, where the B string is muted with the left hand index finger, because you can even do like a hybrid movement where you do hammer-on from nowhere. But you can also, I don't know if you guys can see that, but you are also slightly touching the B string. So that's totally possible too, to encapsulate. So as you can see, it takes a different movement. So it's more of that and less of that. So that's possible. And then for the G string, you can do the following. You can bring your right hand palm slightly down. With down, I mean like you're placing it even lower, so you can feel the strings. You can feel your palm muting all these strings up to the G string. That's really important. So the G string is the highest string that you're touching, and you're touching it ever so slightly that it is blocking the G string. But once you hammer on, just that millimeter here, that really small change in pressing down the note on the fretboard, just releases the G string from the touch of the palm. And then when you release that, that fretting finger, it touches the palm again. So that's super simple, super subtle, and it's kind of hard to incorporate. But once you do, when you spend some time doing that, it's very rewarding. It's kind of like a little secret trick that you will never be able to figure out from watching somebody play, because it's kind of invisible. It's like hidden, right? But that is something I try to do a lot. Right, and that's really where, if I'm doing it right, the note separation and how clean the passage sounds really does come from. And here's another little trick that you can do. You can cheat. And what I mean by cheating is that once you're past a certain tempo where it gets fast enough so that you can't really make out individual notes that much, you can just leave your index finger here the entire time, and you don't do the hammer-on from nowhere, because that note would be a C. And then when we go back, we are pulling off towards the same note C. So we are hearing the C anyway. We don't need that note to be present any more than it already is. So at a certain point and at a certain speed, you can just blaze through this passage, and you just, as a safety measure, in order to play it as clean as possible, you just leave that finger here, and you just live with the fact that that one note doesn't really exist. It doesn't make any difference past a certain point. There you go. You don't have to do that, just saying that's one of the possibilities. Sometimes you have to do a little trade-off when you're playing with a lot of distortion between playing something as clean as possible or as accurate as possible. I know that sounds like an oxymoron or a paradox, but sometimes that's really the case. So as you can see, there's loads of possibilities to mute to get this thing going. But the most important thing is actually the ability to move both hands independently of each other at the same time. Right, this is something that I talk about a lot in my instructional video, which you can still buy conveniently at www.beyondthestrings.de, and there's several exercises, like a whole bunch of exercises, training that ability in you to do independent things with left and right. I mean, this is something that I've really picked up on from watching my drummers play, because I've had the good fortune I've had the good fortune to work with a lot of amazing drummers over the years, and they're all really big on hand independence. And so this concept of independence really stuck with me, and I try to work on that, trying to move my hands in opposite directions, still finding the spot where I want to be. So this obviously is like a super simple example, because one hand stays stationary in one position and the other one moves just, 3 frets. But still, you have to be able to do this at the same time. If you do one thing with the left hand, then shift your focus to the right hand, go to the right spot, play what you need to play, shift your focus again, play what you need to play here, and so on and so forth. You will never be able to get it up to a satisfying speed. You have to be able to do these things independently. So in this case, the moment I'm pulling off here, I'm already moving my hand towards that lower position where I can tap the 14th and 16th. Same thing here. Once I pull off here, I'll be going back while my left hand is playing their respective notes. That may sound simple and kind of obvious, but it's really, really important. And if you're learning a lick like that and you're starting slow with metronome, it's really important not only to focus on the notes and the all those things that we have been talking about, the velocity and tone in the left and right hand, but also in establishing as early as possible these movements in the right hand so that you don't lose any time, right? So that doing multiple things at the same time with different hands, that is really one of the bread and butter capabilities of being a modern guitar player. So we're going to get more into that later. But for now, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Hope you learned something. If you do, let me know in the comments. If you didn't, also let me know in the comments if you feel like it. And do ring the notification bell. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you need the tabs for this exercise and all the others. In the other lesson videos, I'm going to be posting them on my social media, right? Linked in the description below. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow. Happy practicing. Bye-bye.